This Oriental guy in the middle, just perfect English. Looks over his two guys on each side of him, both of them in black suits. Says, "May I say something, please?" Sure, sure, go ahead, Nguyen, go ahead. You know, Nguyen turns around, points at me, and said, "You I would kill. You I would torture." And he walks out of the room. Oh shit! Who is that guy? Grab him! Don't let him get away. He was a North Vietnamese major that defected. He had been bringing down his engineering battalion down from the north, and he had been telling them every day, "Don't shoot at the little bird. Don't shoot at the bird dog. Don't shoot at the L-19. Don't shoot at the U-17. Don't shoot at the Raven. Don't shoot at the little bird. Don't shoot at the L-19." Every day, ingrained in those guys. Keep discipline. Don't shoot them until they put in an airstrike. Then get him. Okay, so by then we'd be far enough away, but impervious to anything to shoot at us. Well, one kid jumped up, and this guy was going down the road at a very low speed, low altitude. He thought it was too good of a target to pass up. He took his AK-47 and took some pot shots at me. And it looked from their angle that I crashed because all this debris going off. And then they thought we was in their pile someplace. Back from behind come the T-28s. And it started. He said, "I lost 80% of my unit. Dead, decimated. I could not return to the north because they would have executed me because I was not able to instill discipline in my troops, and therefore he defected." And
wow.
I only gave 2 possible, wounded in action for that whole 30 sets of fighters to put in that cemetery. And I didn't know we knocked them all out of existence, and they had to bring a whole new unit down. So for about 25 days, the war effort in the South was delayed due to me just moseying on down the little trail hunting for some footsteps. So you never know when something's going to go ahead and pop up on you. Now, this will be the last story if you got time. This one did not make the book either. I had been flying up to the northern mountainous area, and it was the Raven 27, and the winds were out of the north at around 40 knots, and I got a 48 knot airplane, and I'm swooping down, get a little bit, climb back up. I'm just not making much progress. It takes me about an hour and a half to get around 40 miles, and I get up in the area, and I got all these winds out of the north, and I got a headache from the previous night, and it's just not. I open-toed tennis shoes, no socks, and I got cut-off Levi's, and I got a T-shirt with bullseye rings underneath the armpits for targets. And I need a nap, and I don't need this. So I went back. I was going to land at the Site 20 alternate, which is what we call the vertical speed break. It's a mountainous. Matter of fact, it's on that last board over there. The last foot of the runway is the Karst Mountain. And we call it the vertical speed break because that's exactly what it was. If you overran, you hit the mountain. Sheer cliff, vertical, out of there. Well, it's a one-way runway. You land this way, you took off the other way. And once you were committed around 400 or 500 feet above the runway surface, there was no go-around opportunity. You were in Box Canyon. And I'm coming down there, and at that time period, whenever a C-130 came in to drop off some cargo, there was a spotter up in Skyline Ridge up on the top there, on the top part of the picture. And this guy would go ahead and direct Soviet 130 millimeter artillery shots into the valley. And hopefully trying to get that C-130 and render the whole airfield inoperative for weeks at a time. And so here I am. I'm going to land. I'm going to be taxiing in. When that thing touches down, the artillery starts. And the way it was there, if you saw a C-130 on final, it was just standard. If you're in the middle of a conversation with somebody, you just stop conversation, walk to your assigned bunkers, sit down, and stuff would come in. And as soon as it all stopped, the C-130 on its takeoff roll, they go ahead and dump pallets out the back, and the last pallet coming out as he's about 20 feet in the air. I mean, the most amazing center of gravity shift going on inside that aircraft, crap all over the runway. And the artillery would stop. We'd get out of our bunkers, dust ourselves off, come back, to the group we were with and carry on the conversation mid-sentence where we left off. It was just the way it was there. And I didn't need this. You know, a shell hit real close to my aircraft. I'm taxiing in, you know. So I called the C-130 up and said, "Hey, Turkey, will you go ahead and give me about 5 minutes as Raven?" He said, "Sure, Raven." So we orbited outside. I went up behind this little mountain called Pupasai Mountain. It's a spiritual mountain of Laos. Shut the engine off. Come gliding around the corner, looking down 3 valleys. And about 3,000 or 4,000 feet above the ground. I just gliding and keeping quiet. No one knows I'm there. C-130 went in. As he touched down, I was looking down the valley. I just happened to be looking like right at the corner of this. I was just about right. Knew it all set from there. And go off about these 8 white smokes, trying to, you know, camouflage where the cannon was located. And my eye just happened to be at the right place at the right time, and I saw this double O-ring of the muzzle suppressor. It was instantaneous. It didn't last anything at all. But I got him. So I fired the engine back up, threw a rocket in there, and called up Hillsborough, Airborne Command and Control Ship, and I says, "Send me all the air in the world. I got that son of a gun," you know. And Hillsborough says, "Raven, I imagine that's a fleeting target." I say, "Yeah, you could define it that way." He says, "Give me the coordinates. I'm going to move my orbit. I'm going to watch this one." So he moves his orbit overhead. And he's up about 28, 30,000 feet. And he gives me a pave nail, which is an OV-10 with a laser designator. Now, this is new stuff back in '71. And not many people knew about precision guided ordnance, and me included. And so OV-10 comes in, and I go ahead and put a rocket down. I talk his eyeballs to it and says, "I'm going to put another rocket down. You talk me to it," because we agreed is probably the best way of doing it. Make certain he's lasing the right target. And the OV-10 comes up and says, "Raven, I can't do this mission." I said, "Say again?" He says, "Look up." "Yeah." "I can't work under an overcast." I said, "Well, looks like that's a little less than 4/8 coverage to me. Come on down, the weather's fine." And he says, "I don't know about that." I said, "Hey, Neil, watch this." And I rolled in and I threw a rocket into that little thatch where the stuff was at. Didn't have time to arm up, so all you saw was a little white tube disappear. I said, "What does that tell you?" He says, "You're pretty close to your work." I said, "Come on down, the water's fine." I had my hand over the boot mic. They're shooting the crap out of me, you know. Stuff's going off everywhere, and I'm dodging bullets. Down he comes. And I put a rocket down, he goes to target. The F-4s check in, and they check in with this ordnance they never heard of before, GBU 42s. GBU. Now, I know what a Mark 82 is. 82 is a 500 pounder. Okay, guided bomb unit. That's good military terminology. That's probably what it is. 32, that means it's probably around a 500 pounder too. Okay, and so setup's going. Lasers marking the target. F-4 rolls in, drops his bomb, and normally you watch the fighter drop a bomb, and it just sort of goes on a ballistic arc, and you watch this 3 or 4 little objects come out. This thing's big, and it's going straight, and that's the only thing I recognize is how straight it's going. It's just vibrating in the air. It's like, boom, hits that target, and this 130 millimeter artillery piece just goes tumbling up in the air higher than I was flying. And then it hit me. Oh, shoot. In comes this big compression wave. And it hits me. I got tree branches and everything else flying off the windscreen, right through my windscreen. My little aiming device in the front, and a Bray's little coat hanger slap down against the cowling. And I got a headache before. I got a super headache now. So, the pave nail says, "Hey, I got another bomb. Where do you want me to put it?" I said, "Go find your own. I'm hurting here." That's all I had to say, because Air America used to monitor our frequencies. And if you did anything unusual as a Raven, they were Johnny on the spot. They were right there. Boom. Within about 30 seconds, I had a helicourier on one side and a helicopter on the other. And Raven, can we help you out? I said, "Yeah, give me a battle damage assessment." And helicourier comes in close and says, "Well, your right strut's bent. Your left wing, or your right wingtip's gone." He says, "A bunch of your flap is missing." He says, "And the top of your elevator, top of your tail, this piece is gone." He said, "Let me go check the left side." So I limp home. I get home, I land, and the C-130 is down the end of by the mountain, vertical speed brake area. And as soon as I touched down and tapped the brakes, did this ground loop. They knocked out a brake line. And so when I hit the brakes, the one worked, the other one didn't. Around I went. What was left of one wingtip smacked against the ground. And we climbed out of the aircraft real quick and pushed it down through the ditch and up into the tarmac area. And Charlie, who's our intel officer, he was standing there and just shaking his head. Goddamn typical hot dog Raven. I said, no, Charlie, you understand. I got beat up pretty good there. My aircraft looks like it's been in a microwave. And up comes, Charlie pops to attention. I look behind me, and up comes this guy in this kind of African bush jacket and a flowered shirt and pressed Levi's. And he walks up to me and slaps me on the back, puts his hand out and says, "I'm on that boat, bring me son." And I didn't know who he was. And I looked at Charlie, and he still wanted to give me that. So I said, well, we just tricked this C-130 into being bait. I went up there and behind the mountain ridge there and looked down the valley, and just as the C-130 was touching down, I found that guy. I tricked this OV-10 into violating his rules coming down below altitude, and smoked that aircraft. I got a little bit of damage on my airplane up there, and here it is, just drooping, and pieces gone. And the guy says a few things and makes a couple of political statements, and he says, "What does it take to clear this area out?" Well, there were 3 penguins right behind him, dressed exactly like him, and General Vang Pao, who's the Army General of Laos, and he's my boss. And he's in the back, and I looked at old Vang Pao, and I gave him a thumbs up and said, "Got him, got that 130 millimeter." And Vang Pao comes grinning ear to ear and gives me double thumbs up, because they've been knocking out rooms in his mansion up at the far end of the runway. And I said, "Well, you give me 2 good companies of Marines, well, this area cleared out in no time." Vang Pao like how he shake his head up and down. This guy says, "Well, son, we can't do that." Just made a couple more statements and slaps me on the back again and says, "Good job." He walks away. He thought I was Air America. Even the generals didn't even know what Air America did. And as a side note, Air America, I gotta say, they were the professionals over there. They were, their motto, anything, anywhere, anytime, they did it. And I have nothing but respect for it. But we did things that they got blamed for all the time. And this is one of them. And so the general, I found out later, he's General Vogt. He just replaced Lavelle as the MAC V commander. He is the 4-star, ultimately my real boss in the real world. And he thought I was Air America. And so when he walked off, thinking nothing of it, this guy made some of my forces violate the rules and so forth. And Charlie looks at me and says, and the guy left says, "Yeah, typical Raven. You don't even know who your boss is." Now, who's that? He says, "That's General Vogt." He says, "And he thinks you're American. He doesn't know you're military. And it was his airplane you used as bait. And he hasn't figured that out yet. And when he does, he finds out you're in the military, you're done. You're dead. You're gone. You're history." So that was one I got away with. Now, fast forward about 4 months. I'm in F4 training at Luke Air Force Base, and the only way that the squadron commander of the unit I was assigned to for training purposes, the only way he could get me to get a haircut is he would go ahead and dole out 5 or 6 air medals at a time. And I had to get a haircut, stand at attention right next to these F4 fighter pilots who returned from Southeast Asia, and they were now instructors at Luke Air Force Base. So I'm standing at attention, and the guy right next to me is getting the citation of the company award. Says, "In a classified area, Southeast Asia, in support of our friendly assets, you did great credit upon yourself, the United States Air Force, with under considerable accurate and intense ground fire, you took out a 130 millimeter artillery piece that was harassing this certain village," and blah, blah, blah. And I'm standing there at attention. Damn, that sounds familiar. And during the cookies and punch afterwards, I'm down there with this guy, and I pull up my green memorandum book, flip, and I says, "Yeah, you were Buick Flight 34. He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Yeah, I was your FAC." I said, "Silver Star, huh? That's great." I said, "Didn't even count for a counter for me for my air medal, This guy was up there, and he said, "Oh, shit, So if you have any questions, I'll go ahead and entertain anything.
Well, I have a question for the public.
Sure.
I've in recent years have made contact with a group of Hmong refugees that came from Southeast Asia to the United States, and there is a community in St. Paul, Minnesota, and there's a community in Sacramento, California, and there's a very good chance that I could have a Hmong pilot that flew with Sandy here at Sun and Fun next year. Do you think that the South could handle that? Could handle a Hmong pilot here at Sun and Fun? Okay. Well, I could probably get several of them actually. A couple of people down, and one of them is a fellow that's he's second gen. His father was a colonel, worked under Dave Powell, and he's a PhD, and he's in charge of Hmong study up in St. Paul, Minnesota. And I could have him here as well, and he can bring a lot of their material with him to display. It's very interesting stuff. And they are United States citizens. That we have there's a second generation Hmong in the Senate, second generation Hmong in the House of Representatives, and they're also very, very tight in the community as far as being involved with politics. So they've done really well here in this country. They've blended in, they've become part of the community, and